LasVegasDiscount.net's the best there is. Save up to 50% on your next Vegas trip. And travel, rental, shows, and tours. Find the deals you're looking for. LasVegasDiscount.net. LasVegasDiscount.net. If you're going to Vegas for deals that are the best, visit LasVegasDiscount.net.
Some breaking news right now. Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City. Epstein was facing sex trafficking charges. NBC News investigative correspondent.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. My name is Lee Honish. I am the producer of Perfect Blue Studios, and I am joined by the host of this show, the man with the daily drop, Bobby Capucci. How are you, Bobby?
Oh, fantastically. A beautiful Saturday in Las Vegas, college football on all 5 TVs in the command center, and our beautiful show. What more could a guy ask for?
Nothing. Actually, today's a cleanup. Sorry for everybody last week. You got a bonus daily drop. Think of it that way. For those of you that are regulars, this is the regular show. We're back to the format. We have an article. We have comments to go through. First, we'll start off with give me an update. What's going on with the Daily Drop for those that don't listen, and why should they listen?
The Daily Drop, we've been covering a lot of Prince Andrew stuff lately because it seems that the UK press is way more active than the American press with this story right now. For 3 days, Lee, or 2 days, if you typed in Jeffrey Epstein in news, the first story that came up was a Snopes story about Mitt Romney. Wow. So that just goes to show you the sort of almost pushback we're getting as reporters in this story. No help from the mainstream media, per se.
Well, there you go. Why should everybody tune into the Daily Drop every single day if they're just waiting for each week's episode instead of getting their fill on daily Epstein updates?
Well, if you follow the Daily Drop every single day, what we're doing is we're covering the story in real time. We're taking 1 or 2 or sometimes maybe even 3 stories from the news, the juiciest stories, the ones that are the most relevant to the way we cover the case, and we break them down on air. I curate them right on air. So I try not to read the articles prior to sharing them with you, and I just read them on air, and I give you my opinion as we're reading the article.
There you go. Please support the sponsors at the beginning of the show. They help pay for it. LasVegasDiscount.net if you want a discounted trip to Vegas. All the work is out of the way. And, of course, go to jeffreyshow.com. You can click on there, ask us a question, find every available platform out there. You can also find a comprehensive news feed. And, of course, the freshest shirt on the planet, the Jeffrey Epstein Subway shirt. I realize it's expensive, but it supports the show. And if you decide you just want to support the show, click on support us. We're not shy. For those of you who don't understand the format of the weekly show, my job is to play the marketing role, the barb that doesn't agree on the other side. I do mix a little bit of my own personal politics where the Daily Drop is straight Bobby. So if you're straight Bobby, hey, you're not hurting my feelings and you don't want to listen to my bullshit. That's cool. You're not. I know that not everybody agrees with me, but I'm telling you, I bring a marketing side to it and a deeper understanding to everything. And we'll get deeper into that with today's story that I picked out. First, I want to knock out some comments because there is a huge YouTube following for the Daily Drop and for the episodes. So let's try to knock a few out. Wander Gupta commented, I wonder if Galashan and Prince Andrew had something going on together when I saw those pictures of them at a wedding where they walked a distance apart.
Yeah, there was a lot of rumors that Ghislaine Maxwell and Andrew were connected romantically. We went over that in over that in the Daily Drops. So it's definitely it was definitely out there in the English papers. But what had happened was there was a lot of headlines scrubbed from English papers, and they did away with a lot of this evidence. And thankfully, Whitney Webb and Mint Press were able to get a hold of those scrubbed headlines, and we shared those as well.
Timothy Possible commented, Catherine Keating was a guest at her parties. This is from the October 15th episode. These are all in the same episode. But Catherine Keating was a guest at her parties. I don't know if there's a question mark that's supposed to be at the end of that.
Probably just adding to the fact another person that we haven't discussed, Catherine Keating. She's she is relevant to the case, and we'll get into her more. But yeah, that's awesome. I love when we have listeners to the show drop stuff like that, because like I said, I certainly don't know everything. I know I don't know everything, especially about this case. It's, it's unfolding before our eyes, and it's one of those weird cases where it could change on a dime depending on what sort of news gets released. And it's great when the fans add names like this, because what we could do is, now that I have the close-up segment, I'm going to be going into different people, a closer look. So we'll definitely take a look there, and we'll see what's there. And if there's something to be had, we'll definitely put it on air.
Gabrielle Gates on October 17th wrote, "No one is talking about this. I find myself taking the black pill, even the Inquirer, TMZ, Inside, etc., all the rags that usually bite into something, and someone like a pit bull has nothing."
She's not wrong. It's mind-boggling to me. You see the smallest hint of sexual scandal around politicians or businessmen or scientists, and it's usually this huge, gigantic thing. So what happens is, you have a situation like this where it's not a big deal, and the people who are usually covering it, well, they have to answer for it then. For me, I just take a look at some of the names that have been brought up, guys like George Stephanopoulos, and he's going to be protected by his buddies in the media. But it really stinks from high heaven that this isn't covered more. And it goes back to the more cynical me when I talk about how the CIA influences what the media does. And they, you look at guys like Anderson Cooper, for instance, he's interned with the CIA. So the CIA doesn't want their assets to be outed. So why would they want these stories to be run? I mean, we have way more important things, right? Like a Trump phone call to Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Carrie Wilfong and Archie Mack for signing up to the YouTube page. Karen Dobner commented, "I'm trying not to click away as you're actually trying to convince us that Trump is a victim. I am outraged. As a Republican, it pains me to say that I can no longer turn a blind eye to the..." I don't know. There's nothing further there.
I don't know what she's talking about as a victim. There's no...
All right, hold on. I popped up more of it. To the truth. Read more. We don't know what the truth is because those close to Trump refuse to answer questions. That's inexcusable. I believe Whitney. She went on. She went on a full rant here. Let's give it to her. I believe Whitney Webb from Mint Press reported that bin Solomon knew nothing about the purchase of the island. Maybe it was elsewhere, but I read that he claimed to have no knowledge of the purchase and not to be involved in the organization, and supposedly bought the island using his name. So there's two things here. Let's do our first one, shall we? I'm trying not to turn a blind eye away as you're actually trying to convince me Trump is a victim. I'm outraged. As a Republican, it pains me to say that I no longer turn a blind eye to the corruption. We don't know the truth. Okay, what truth? Is because people close to Trump refuse to answer questions. That's inexcusable. All right. Is there a truth to Trump and Epstein at all?
Look, the fact of the matter is, when this all started, the only person that talked to the lawyers for these people of his own will was Donald Trump. Listen, if Donald Trump's phone call is under the microscope the way it is, right, Lee? Don't you think that if there was something where with Epstein that they would be going after it? If they had something here.
All I've seen media-wise is tying people that are associated with Epstein because they are associated with Trump.
Correct. There's no evidence. Now, listen to me clearly. Everybody listening to this show, there is zero evidence that has been brought to the forefront that puts Trump anywhere in this hemisphere. Look, does that mean Trump is a good guy? No. Does that mean Trump isn't probably up to his neck in all sorts of business kinds of fraud and stuff? No. But the fact of the matter is this, all right? We're following the evidence here, the evidence. And to say that even Whitney Webb, when you read her articles, it's thin at best the way she tries to tie Trump to this. The only way you can tie Trump to this is Acosta. And according to Acosta, I have to go back again. According to Acosta, Jeffrey Epstein belonged to intelligence and was above Acosta's pay grade. So once again, your problem is not with Trump. Your problem is with the CIA and the intelligence community, the real people who run the country.
Yes. And for those of you who don't follow Bobby on social media, follow him on social media, Bobby Capucci or Icarus News, and you will see he just reposted the Kennedy, I will split it into the wind into a million parts. I just saw that come up in the timeline.
Yeah, and that's, and not long after that, he was assassinated. We all know that John F. Kennedy didn't trust the CIA. We all know he didn't want to go into Cuba. We all know Bay of Pigs was a flipping nightmare. John F. Kennedy was a pretty, middle of the road kind of guy. Certainly wasn't a warmonger. I mean, questionable family ties. We can talk about all that.
Are you agreeing with the Democrat?
100%. John F. Kennedy was the most. Yeah, look, there's several Democrats that I agree with. I like Tulsi Gabbard. I think Andrew Yang has a few great ideas, but my problem is when the problem with the Democrats right now is they have all swung way too far to the left because they're giving red meat to their base, and their base is a bunch of lunatics. I'll straight up say it. They're a bunch of lunatics, the base at this point. They've been.
I'll say for the record, because now I'm taking care of my parents here in LA. My mom is in that camp, and talking to her on these topics, period, or trying to reason with that side it's unfathomable. It's so crazy.
Lee, they don't even know the basic beginnings of the whole Russia investigation. They don't know about the server. They don't know about CrowdStrike. They don't know about Fusion GPS. They don't know about Joseph Mifsud. They don't know about the Five Eyes. They don't know what was going on in Australia. They don't know what was going on with Papadopoulos. They don't know about Brennan. They don't know about Clapper. Do you know why? Because they listen to Rachel Maddow. They listen to CNN, and they've been gaslit for years now, years by the media, and they think that we're the ones who are crazy. Well, I got news for you, boys and girls. Just take a look at your TV. Criminal investigation into the Obama administration's actions. You know what that means? They were spying on the Trump campaign, and now they have evidence.
You did it too fast for me to do a Fight Net Radio classic right here. Hold on. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see if I can get it done. What? I can do it. No, that's not the wrong party horn. It should have been the bam, 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 bam.
I'm fired up.
We do the Fight Net Radio hot take horn, and for those of you who don't listen to Fight Net Radio and like boxing, go to Fight Net Radio. The hot take horn, right? The bam, 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 bam. Andrew just had a hot take. It's also a drinking game. If you're doing this late at night and it's a drinking game, we'll add in the party sound. I believe Whitney Webb in the Mint Press reported that Bin Solomon knew nothing about the purchase of the island. Maybe it was elsewhere. But okay. I'm trying to do it with her disdain for you at this moment. But I read that he claimed to have knowledge of the purchase and not to be involved in the organization that supposedly he bought the island using his name.
All right, look, let me just break this down for everybody out there, okay? Jeffrey Epstein had a Saudi passport, okay? He was really good friends with Adnan Khashoggi. Adnan Khashoggi was an arms runner. He was involved in the Iran-Contra affair. Adnan Khashoggi provided, now listen to me clearly, provided a passport for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the man who he bought the second island under his name, what country was he from?
I don't know. Tell me.
Saudi Arabia, Lee.
Oh.
Yeah, very interesting, right? So what happens is if people don't understand the whole entire genesis and the whole entire nexus, the whole entire nexus of this, they're not going to understand what I'm talking about. So comments like that get me fired up because I really don't care about Donald Trump. I'm going to be straight up and clear with you. My problem is the push by the communists on the left in this country who they make you take an ideological purity test. And if you fail the purity test, well, you're voted off the island. That's it. You're going to the gulag, just like Stalin did. And I'm not cool with that. I believe in free thought. I believe in challenging ideas. I believe that we should have a free and open debate. And I believe that all speech should be protected, even the speech that makes us uncomfortable.
There you go. Ba, 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 ba. That's your drinking cue, everyone. All right. Who would you like to call? No, sorry, Siri. She was back 21 hours later on another episode. Make sure you read Whitney Webb's series on Epstein case, Mint Press. There's only a few reporters who are digging deep so far. She's definitely one of them.
I have. I've read multiple articles from Whitney Webb. I'm not going to read everything she's written. I mean, I read the articles that are relevant to the way I cover the case. Now, everybody understands where I'm coming from with this case who has listened to this show. And if you're new to the show, I'll just break it down for you real quick. The plot that Epstein was involved in was old when Babylon was young. Okay? This has been around forever. These guys in intelligence, what they do is they find ways to entrap powerful people, then they use that entrapment to get you to do what they want. And that is exactly what this is. This is the most transparent and obvious blackmail for power case in my lifetime for sure. All you really have to do is take a look at the way it went down. Look at the people that Epstein was around. The mega group, which I covered in one of the closer looks. It's a 70, 80 minutes. So go take a listen to that. And all of those people in the mega group, who a lot of them were in Ronald Reagan's atmosphere. And for those of you who think I'm partisan, by the way, Ronald Reagan was one of my favorite politicians for a very long time, but not anymore. So it's a whole entire thing, Lee. It's not just, you can't look at this case just at one piece or one article or one opinion. You have to take everything into context because, as I said many times, when we dive down this rabbit hole, it is very deep and there are many Warrens.
There you go. Hey, everybody, go to the YouTube page, type in Perfect Blue Studio, and you can be a part of the YouTube people that are commenting and having fun. Not every episode gets watched or listened to. Don't get caught up in that. But some of them do. And some of you guys are into it. And whatever the case, it is available. Just type in Perfect Blue Studio. Commercial break right here. Inserted. Go to the Jeffrey Epstein Show on iTunes, right? It's jeffreyshow.com for our webpage and all the links to Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the Jeff Shirt, and possibly supporting us. Welcome back. I'm sorry for the commercial break. That's how we support the show. I know. Can you believe it? AT&T or Disney is supporting us at this minute. I digress. I don't know what they insert. It's just automatic, everyone. So welcome back. Our featured story this week. I don't even think you are ready for this one, Bobby, but I love the idea of it. And as we do, we'll break it down paragraph by paragraph. And I just think it's a funny one. This week's story comes to us from the reader. It's called Tiny Bubbles. The Laundromat gets Panama Papers all wet. Are you excited already?
Oh, look, the Panama Papers is one of my favorite topics. Look, we all know that my whole entire goal from this point on in my life is to out all of these criminals that are in power.
The Laundromat, for those of you who don't know, as has been forever and will be filmmaking in its most alchemy than the chemistry, The Laundromat is proof. That's right. They're trying to make it into a movie. I knew you'd love this story. A hugely important and undiscovered subject, the Panama Papers gets tackled. Hugely undiscovered? Let's start right there. I'm not even past the first sentence. Is it hugely undiscovered and subject? What are the Panama Papers? Let's start right there.
Well, the Panama Papers were a dump of all these documents that showed where all these rich and elite people were storing and stashing their monies offshore and evading taxes and stuff.
This subject gets tackled by one of the most modern directors, Steven Soderbergh, and arguably the greatest actress of all time, Meryl Streep. Yet somehow the end result is just over so barely on the right side of okay. Is this movie already out? As beloved fictional theologian and philosopher Mike LaFontaine, oh, this guy's already doing lofty writing. Mike LaFontaine, Fred Willard once mourned, mournfully contemplated in a mighty wind. What happened? Admittedly, 11 million documents that detail how the wealthy distinguish around the world use shell corporations to hoard their riches in offshore dungeons like dragons who have Jeffrey Epstein's phone number doesn't scream adapt me. So by the way, there's no reason to tie in Jeffrey Epstein, which is already funny in this whole context. Instead of opting an easily followed narrative interrupted by dense economic, it's a complete breakdown of this whole thing. But I wanted to cover this. Let's start right here. Why are we dragging Jeffrey Epstein into the Panama Papers?
Well, for me, at this point in time, I can't discount that any one of these rich billionaires were involved with Jeffrey Epstein until we see all the documents and everything's been not unredacted and we could see that book. And you know what, Lee? These people that were in these Panama Papers, a lot of these people are the exact kind of people that we've uncovered being around Jeffrey Epstein. So while they're probably adding it there just to get, that crossover audience, the Epstein audience, because I think the Epstein audience is really getting hip to the fact that the two-tier justice system is a huge part of the Epstein case. And I know it was kind of bumpy at first for some people to accept that. But the fact of the matter is all of this stuff ties together. The elites taking advantage of the rest of us.
Right, which is why I brought up the story. Anytime you get a movie, and he's going to talk about it in this paragraph, but anytime you get a movie about how big business is structured, this is all the same. This is literally, we've been saying this since day one, and I know everybody thinks you're going off topic. We're not going off topic. You've got to look at this from a marketing standpoint. You've got to look at it from you've got to look at any attempt to, I realize everybody puts a slant on a movie or a biopic or anything, but if you're not going to be open to watching movies that are trying to expose any kind of version of a person's truth, right? You're cutting yourself off from trying to have a greater understanding of the whole.
And especially something like this, because with a case like this, it shows you the way that these guys were hiding their money. And who do you think was hiding money for these kind of people? People like Jeffrey Epstein. So what it does is it gives you an inside look at the way corruption is structured almost by the very few that are at the top. And when I say the very few, I don't mean the guy that owns the local grocery store or the guy that, has made $10-12 million on a farm. I'm talking about the Vanderbilts. I'm talking about the Rockefellers. I'm talking about the Windsors. I'm talking about the most elite, the richest people in the world, that if you added up all of their money together, it would be in the trillions.
There you go. The law firm that this is about her trying to get money. So that's what the movie's about. But it also goes without mentioning The Big Short. This is because there's only two films that have ever attempted to. This is why I think it's interesting. Legally, you can't talk about The Laundromat without mentioning The Big Short. That is because there are only two films to have ever attempted to didactically vomit crucial financial information at the masses while attempting to win an Oscar. We'll stop right there. I don't think this is a sexy subject. I think for those that are on the extreme left, they'll put whatever slant they'll want on it, including the right. All right, calm down, everyone. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there aren't more documentaries or more people trying to do an investigative piece?
Because it's dangerous work. We're in an age where journalism is illegal almost. Take a look at what's going on with Julian Assange. The man never hacked anything in his life, Lee. What happened with the Russians was not even a hack. I really strongly suggest everybody reads what William Binney had to say about that Russian hack and what Edward Snowden had to say about that Russian hack. It is impossible that was hacked from a remote location. That had to have been smuggled out of the DNC by somebody who was leaking it. So no,
I completely agree. So let's break this down in something logical. Let's hypothetically create the documentary, right? Let's take it in that direction. How would you start a biopic or a piece? First of all, who would you get to play Jeffrey Epstein?
I think his name's Elliot Gould. Is that his name?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think he kind of looks like him, and I'm not really good with like the culture stuff. I usually have my girlfriend here to help me with that stuff, but I believe his name is Elliot Gould, right? The guy that was in like American History X?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep, I think he would be in that.
That's Elliot. That's who you're thinking for Epstein on the screen.
Yeah, I think of Epstein and I see him, not only because I think they share a resemblance, but he has great acting chops, this guy.
Okay. And so is it a biopic of like a reporter trying to seek down the truth? And are you going straight to getting Batman to play the lead role of the investigative reporter who's prepared to go too deep?
Yeah, look, I would, if it was about Epstein and we were doing it factually, I don't know who I would have played Julie K. Brown from the Miami Herald. She's the one that really deserves all the credit in this story. She's the one that blew the doors off of it. She's the one that really pursued it. And she is somebody that deserves just a ton of credit. So whoever we were going to get to play her would have to be someone fantastic.
She looks kind of like an Linda Carter-ish. Like an older Linda Carter.
I'll tell you what, Lee, she is one of those journalists, like a throwback journalist that does what the Fourth Estate is supposed to do. Hold those who are in power accountable when they're taking advantage of people that don't have any power.
Let's see if there's a Linda Carter blonde shot. Yeah, they're only Wonder Woman blonde shots. We don't have any updated shots on her because she's 108 now.
I could see maybe even a Sandra Bullock playing her. Sandra Bullock has played those kind of characters really good before, or Julia Roberts maybe.
Any of those would work. Got to dye her hair blonde. She'd have to go blonde for the role and put on a few pounds because she looks like she needs a sandwich.
I mean, you would think that a movie like this would have a huge budget too, right? So they'd be able to do whatever they want.
There you go. She's done it for The Blind Side.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's got about the right age on her. Actually, right there. That's a good look right there. That's what we want. That's the perfect look. Okay, so we got Sandra Bullock. So where does the story start? Where does it take place? Are we leading up to the final days of him being caught and put into jail? And are we showing the mysterious hanging and leaving it open-ended? How would you shoot it if you were the director?
I would probably start right with when Julie Brown was at the women's prison and she was talking to the women about sex trafficking and Epstein's name kept coming up. That's probably where I would start, and I would use flashbacks as she was talking to people.
Okay. And piece it together with her articles. What would those flashbacks look like?
Oh my God, there are so many articles, Lee. She was, like I said, she was the one that really broke this story. The Miami Herald got the Virginia Roberts first interview, that all the girls on record, they dug really hard. So, you could even start there, maybe even, start towards the end. And like I said, work a flashback kind of story back. Cause I think that works in movies like this. Okay.
Going forward, we're at about the 30-minute marker with flashbacks in her interview with Epstein. Is he truthful? Do you think he would disclose anything? Does she get anything that hasn't been publicized? I mean, how much of the truth are you pushing here to make a biopic Emmy winner? Something on the lines of, The Big Short or something else, like you're getting a little bit of inside dirt. Do you think at the end he would have been honest?
Epstein?
Yeah.
I think that men like that are filled with great hubris and great arrogance. And I truly believe that he would have turned on the people that he had the blackmail on, and they knew that. And well, we see the result. I don't think that, look, I
like that shot. Like they're leaving the jail cell and he goes, hey, look, there's documents out there, right? And he starts to roll off names in an Elliot Gould kind of way and just keeps naming names. And the music's coming up behind him and the names keep going and going. And it's getting tenser and tenser, right? Like an opening, just he keeps rolling names off. And it's just a shot of her face. And she's trying to show no expression, constantly saying names after names after names after names after names. And it gets that kind of shaky feel to the whole thing, and then it cuts to black.
Yeah, or it cuts to just you see his feet dangling from him hanging.
Yeah, I like that. I like that next segue cutaway, right? We don't know how it happened, who it happened, what happened. There's no film, there's no nothing. So that would have been the next step in her investigation. What does she feel happened in that jail cell?
She really hasn't come out and said what her opinion is on that suicide. I believe she's pretty much with the official story. Julie K. Brown doesn't really delve into the realm of guesswork. She's pretty much a straightforward investigative journalist, and she researches her pieces and then she fires those pieces off.
Okay. Where does she go next? Does she go looking for the documentation? I would assume that's what she's actually done in real life.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely what she's done. She's, like I said, she's talked to the girls, and she's really been all over the
Okay, let's
prosecutors.
start right there. So those are her next stops. She's going and talking to the girls. That's the next step in the whole process. Who does she talk to first?
Oh, Virginia Roberts Joffrey for sure.
Okay, and what is disclosed in that interview?
Well, that's when they find out about Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz, Matt Groening, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, from what we know, what's in the public eye as of now, they could use all that stuff from the affidavits, and there's just a lot in those affidavits.
Okay, give a little bit to me. So don't cut it short. Play this out. I'm watching a movie with you. Okay, what is she now piecing together with the actual interview and backing it up with documentation?
Well, they were in London the first time Virginia Roberts Joffrey was with Epstein. They took her to a bar, and mind you, she was 16 at the time. They took her to a bar in London. They fed her a bunch of vodka. Then she hops in the car afterwards with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and they tell her that she's going to go be with Andy that night. And of course, things I'm sure occur.
Okay, so that's her first stop. And somewhere, I would imagine, to make this movie cohesive, right? Since we're writing an Academy Award-winning film here for Sandra Bullock, what is the nugget that she gets that takes her to the next storyline? What do you think she found in that took her to the next step?
Well, there was also the other stuff when Virginia Roberts talked about how she was involved in an orgy with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and 8 other young girls that all appeared to be under 18. So as an investigative journalist myself, I hear that. I want to know who the other 8 girls are. So I try and track those 8 girls down.
So you're going after the 8 and not Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, no, what I would like to do is establish the story from all of the witnesses first and make sure that I'm not getting taken for a ride. As an investigative journalist, you have to vet your sources, and it's an arduous process. You have to make sure everything's correct before you bring it to the people, or else you're no better than the knuckleheads on CNN or Fox.
Okay. And are we secretly, she's starting to have people follow her and tap her conversations as well at this point?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm writing a movie here for everybody. Yeah, I'm trying to lay it out. I think in the background, at this point, she's starting to pick up a tail and she's being watched.
Well, if you believe what Ronan Farrow said in his article, he was being tailed by ex-Mossad because of the Weinstein case. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
So you would make her tail Middle Eastern-ish looking-ish.
Nope. I would have them, because there's plenty of Israeli agents that look like anyone else, or plenty of agents from any country. Basically, that's the whole game, Lee. If you're a spy, you want to fit in. You want to be part of the society. You ever like the show The Americans?
You gotta think like a movie. I mean, I gotta set an overtone here as I'm writing this out.
Right. Well, I would just have a basic American-looking, maybe Mediterranean-looking guy, but I wouldn't make it overtly Middle Eastern, because that's not how the Mossad works. Look, what you got to understand, the Mossad is very smart, probably the smartest intelligence agency on this planet.
And by the way, everybody, you can go to jeffreyshow.com, click on Ask a Question. We'd love to hear who you want for each of these roles, or you can comment on YouTube or on any of the platforms. We'll find out, and we'll talk about it next week and compare those. But we have more movie to discuss. So she starts after the 8, correct?
Right.
And who are the 8?
Still to this, I haven't seen anything about that, Lee. In all my research, I haven't seen any names who the 8 are.
Okay. Do you think has she found any of the 8?
Not that I know of, but they were all foreign girls who hardly spoke English. So who knows if they were transported here just for that purpose and then sent back to whatever poor war-ravaged country they're from, if they're still here in the country. See, this is what I mean. This is why this case is so extremely insane. If this was just an average case, all 8 of those other girls, if anyone even brought this accusation to the table, all 8 of those girls will be pulled in for a talk, So what's going on?
Why haven't they? I mean, are we just going to keep that point completely out?
For me, if we're going to sensationalize a little bit, I would have it because intelligence doesn't want them to be found.
Okay, fair enough. So do you try to dive into finding the 8, but you're getting stonewalled by CIA, Mossad, freedom of the press doesn't mean shit. I mean, how would you stonewall that to tell this story?
Oh, it's easy for them to stonewall it. All they have to do is never grant any requests for Freedom of Information Acts. Oh, it's national defense, or the CIA is so good at that. That's why it's amazing to me to see a guy like Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch, how he was able to pull so much information through this whole case, because the FBI and CIA throughout history they've really held that stuff close to the vest.
There you go. All right, so she gives up on the 8. Ghislaine Maxwell's got to be her next person in the story arc.
Absolutely. Well, of course, you dive into Ghislaine Maxwell, you find out what her ties are, who her family members are, what she's involved in, what her relationship to Epstein is, what her relationship to the young girl is there any there? So when you're an investigative journalist, you're basically like a detective, except you don't have the power to arrest.
Okay. And what is she, because you do read her stuff, what does she discover about Maxwell?
All the stuff we've talked about, how Maxwell's father was considered
movie. I'm having a movie here. Don't shorten my movie with your Bobby Fast. You guys already know. No, I'm having a movie. What does she find? So what's Sandra into?
She finds out that Ghislaine Maxwell's father was just a big media mogul in the UK, that he had a lot of power, and he was part of the group called the Mega Group. And the Mega Group is a group of some of the wealthiest and most influential Jewish businessmen who created a group to basically forward Israel's best interests. So her father was part of this group, and he was an intelligence asset, not only for the Mossad, but they say for the CIA and the KGB. So she starts unraveling all these different things.
Okay. What is her next step? Does she go after the Mega Group? Or does she try to find more people that are Epstein inner circle?
No, I think that what you do now at this point is, all right, you see what's happening. You've seen that this is all weird. Everything's connected. So I think you have to go back and talk to the prosecutors who originally prosecuted him.
Okay. And who are they?
That's our buddy Acosta.
All right. Let's break it down. Who is Acosta? Give me a backstory.
Acosta was a state attorney in Florida. He was in charge of this case.
What's his first name?
Alexander Acosta.
Okay, go ahead.
So he was in charge of this case, and his job obviously is to put people like this away so that they don't hurt other people.
All right, who's playing Alexander Acosta, by the way? I've got him up.
What about the guy that played Monk?
Oh, Monk, yeah.
Shabbat, Tony Shabbat, maybe? Is that his name?
You're getting a lot of people that'll never do this film. Just Tony Shalhoub, and there's no way you're getting a lot of Jewish people that aren't going to do this just based on. So you got Shalhoub playing him. Are you going to give him a hairline in the whole bit too?
Yeah, the whole flip.
Okay, so now she interviews Shalhoub next. All right, I'm in. Keep going. I love this movie.
All right, so she's interviewing Acosta, Shalhoub, and she's asking him all kinds of questions. How did he get this sweetheart deal? How come the victims weren't told that he was getting this deal, et cetera, et cetera? And Shalhoub is, hey, look, this is what the office decided, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't really have to answer her questions. She's just a journalist. What could she do to him?
Right. And of course, it's going to be movie bullshit because we're making a Hollywood film. So what's the nugget he drops what's the breadcrumb he drops at the end of their interview where he turns off the microphone and looks at her closely?
He just stonewalls her and says, look, this is the way the American justice system works. He starts, really reading off precedent for the sentence that he gave this guy, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, but he's not dropping a breadcrumb at all. You think it's a full stonewall?
Yeah, exactly. The only breadcrumb Acosta has ever dropped was when he was talking to the Trump transition team and said that Epstein belonged to intelligence. He's never told anybody else that but the Trump transition team.
Okay, so following the true hero's journey story arc of all movies that actually work, right? So she meets someone who's a victim. She's fighting for justice for that one victim. she starts to follow the breadcrumb trail, right? She's now following her hardship, and the hardship are all these powerful white guys stonewalling her, right? Have I got the movie so far?
Pretty much correct. Just it's following the same path as every other movie about corruption.
All right, we got it. We got to go for the big hero upending, because I don't want I want to win the Academy Award here, right? So
For sure.
we need to start working on the victory. From here, knowing she's now stonewalled, she's in a male-dominated world, she's stonewalled, she's being followed, she's the only woman trying to fight for the rights of these women that were victimized. This is a great film. How does she achieve victory from here?
Well, victory for her was when she broke her case. I mean, her story in the Miami Herald, and then right after that, basically, Jeffrey Epstein got arrested again, and that was the beginning of our whole story here.
Okay, so how much more does she have to go through before she drops this story? What's after Acosta? Clearly, she's going through. We're at the plateau or the peak point of feeling she's getting stonewalled, and she's down and she's crying and she's eating ice cream or drinking wine in her bathtub with her cats and feeling like she can't do anything, and she's throwing papers everywhere. Good visual.
Kind of looks like Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men.
Yeah, probably something like that. So who is next after Acosta?
I mean, basically the story ends there, besides him, committing suicide, as far as the actual meat and potatoes of Jeffrey Epstein, because once he was arrested, well, I mean, we could do the whole thing about how he had lawyers in there he was out of his cell for like 12 hours a day talking to lawyers, which is very uncommon. There's just still a lot of things that were going on in that while he was in that jail cell, Lee, that just are so beyond weird.
Okay, so follow me for the movie, right? So she stonewalls at Acosta, right? We're at the hour and 20 or 30 minute marker in the movie. She's crying in the bathtub. She gets a phone call while she's in the bathtub, and a voice says on the other end of the line, he's going to walk. How's that sound? You like that? Doesn't really have to be ambiguous. But I'm making a movie.
But he didn't walk, though. Her article.
I get that. But she hasn't written the article yet, right? She's still in the bathtub thinking she doesn't have enough to actually go full public with everything. And she wakes up the next day and she decides to write the story. Damn it. With what evidence she has, she's going to lay it all out there, right? Right. Typical Sandra Bullock piece of her sitting behind there, and you see the headline of what she's writing. And she takes it to her editor. Ready? Played by a not dead Ed Asner, because I just like good throwback. And he says, I'm not going to run the piece. It's going to affect my advertisers, right? I got to have some movie stuff here. And she fights and she fights and she fights. And she finds some kind of, I realize this is all movie bullshit. Everybody calm down. She pushes for some kind of button to get him, to leverage him into releasing the story into the Miami Herald. And she drops the story, and that's the movie.
Yeah,
and then it does a flashback to just his feet dangling in the cell.
Yeah, that would be a good way to end it, because like I always say, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for the information that this idiot had, I would have been dancing in the streets when he was found dead, Lee. I have zero feelings for people like this. I have anyone who
raped in a jail cell repeatedly. No,
yes.
I'm with you. He's a typical pedophile. And I love jail justice on pedophiles. Loved it.
Put him right in general population, throw him in some federal prison, whatever the worst one is in general population, and let him get a cell with gas pipe Casso and see how he likes it.
There you go. How'd you like this week's episode?
Pretty good.
It was fun, right? Everybody calm down. You guys got a timeline? You got a movie? I mean, it was something different. A little lighter, a little cheerier.
And that's what we do on the Sunday show. It's a different show. It's a longer form show. It's been a kind of slow week. And you know what? If you're looking for that hard news every day, you'll get it with the Daily Drop. This Sunday show is where Lee and I get on here. We're going to discuss the way we feel about this case. Sometimes it veers off in one direction or the other. But at the end of the day, always remember stuff like the Panama Papers when I bring that up. Stuff like these 302 FISA warrants, when I bring that up, remember, you got to remember, and try not to have ADD, because I know we all do, but try not to have ADD on this subject, because all of those organizations, all of those bureaus, the CIA, NSA, NIA, et cetera, they're all involved in every single thing that makes our lives harder and more difficult.